Welcome to your new spelling zapper. Step 1. Investigate the words on the front cover. Listen to the sounds very carefully. Look at the letters carefully. Are there any patterns or tricky bits? What have you discovered? Is this sound in your name? Here we go. Hopefully you found these things I'm about to tell you now. Long O spelling zapper. And it's got a long O sound here. Here's a little character to help us remember that lonely goat is a long surprise sound. Let's look at the letters. Lonely, those two letters are making a long O sound, and goat is making a long O sound. Don't confuse long O with short O. Short O is watchful dog, which is a short grunty sound. O. Lonely goat is a long surprise sound. Oh. Now let's look at how many ways of spelling this sound we can find. There's O as in go, there's OA as in goat, there's OW as in snow, there's OE as in toe, there is O something E as in cone. We've got the two vowels split by a consonant known as a split digraph, or you could call it magic E for a bit more fun, and then OU as in dough. So they all sound the same, but they look different. And your challenge is to learn which one to use for each spelling. Here's an example sentence using as many of those as possible. The old lonely goat groaned as she rode home on a slow boat while throwing dough at her toe. Bit of a nonsense sentence, but it's got lots of those spellings in. We can see, for example, there's an O by itself making a long O sound. Then we've got lonely making a long O sound, and let's go for blue because the O and the E have been split by an N to make the word lonely. Then we've got goat with an OA. We've got groaned with an OA as well. As she rode, there's another one of those split digraphs where E is magically changing the sound the letter O makes. If we took the E off, that would be a rod. Put the E on, we get road. Hocus pocus, alacazo, change this O into an O. Same with home as well. Another split digraph. On a slow, so there's the OW spelling. Boat, back to the OA spelling. We've got while throwing, there's another OW spelling. Dough, there's the unusual one that we don't see very often, which is dough. At her toe, let's go for pink toe, there we go. So there's a silly sentence that tries to use as many of those spelling patterns as possible with the same sound. Maybe you could make up your own. Right, let's move on. Your next challenge, or your next step, is to choose your challenge not too easy, not too difficult, but just right, with Goldilocks. And there are 4 things to think about with this. Can you read it? What does it mean? You might need to use a dictionary. Can you spell it? Do you use it in your writing? That's really important. So here we go. Here are the words. Let's make sure we know what they say. We've got most, both, only, old, cold, gold, hold, and told. That's challenge 2, slightly harder than that. Clothes, whole, don't, home, no, grown, grown. Notice we've got a homophone there and a homophone there. Watch out for them. And then challenge 4. Notice, potatoes, tomatoes, though, although, ocean, telephone, and wrote. Now these words that have a number 1 next to them are from list 1. Hopefully you can learn them by the end of year 2. These words with the number 2 next to them, they are from the list of words that hopefully you can learn by the end of year 4. So there's your challenge. Let's have a reminder of the words you've hopefully already learnt, and a challenge with some new words you haven't learned yet, and let's see how they link together. Now, what's the next step? Practice handwriting. Checklist. Make sure your letters are sitting on the line. You have clear spaces. They're the correct shape. Even sizes. Clear ascenders, clear descenders, and joins. Make sure you copy exactly. There are 3 ways to practice handwriting. Trace on the front cover, write in the guidelines on the inside pages, and then write on the single lines. So yes, you can trace these words on the front cover, making sure you're copying the joins exactly. And then also, let's zoom in, make this a bit bigger. You can practice on the lines in here. So Let's just demonstrate one. If I'm going to write potatoes, I need to make sure, I'm going to go for a thinner pen actually. There we go. I need to make sure that P has a clear descender. I'm going to join to the O. We need to make sure that T has a clear ascender. And then the A stays between the two lines there. T has an ascender. The O, the E and the S are all sitting on the line and even heights. Once you've practiced inside the lines, you can then practice on the single lines as well. Potatoes. There we go. Right, so you need to do that 8 times with 8 different words inside your zapper. So let's have a look at what to do next. Step 4 is learn the words. You might find some homophones, you might make up a mnemonic, you might draw some word art, you might work out how to say it silly, look for some words hiding within words, count the syllables. You might see a word tree where you've got a root word, you can add a suffix, a prefix, you can make a plural, or you can change the tense. Let's have a look at some examples that have already been done. Here's a homophone. Homophones sound the same, look different and have different meanings. We've got grown with an OW, we've got grown with an OA. My plant has grown since I groaned about my history test. So do you know the difference between grown and groan? When you hear the word groan, make sure you ask the question, which one? And here's the game you could play at home. Player 1 says a homophone sentence, player 2 says which one it is. Let's have a look at another one. Here we've got whole and whole. The man looks down the hole. The lady is going to eat the whole cake. Notice the silent W when there's nothing missing. There's a tricky bit to watch out for. No and no. Here's somebody who's very pleased with themselves. I know everything. The boy offered the teacher apples, but the teacher said no. You could make a word tree with the word no. So here's the root word, no, and growing out of it, I've got the word knowing. And we could have known. We could have the word knew, and we could have the word knowledge. Notice the silent K on there. You can say it silly and say kno. Let's move on. Here's 2 more homophones. Road with an OA and road with a magic split digraph E. The road went on forever. I rode my tricycle to college. We could change the tense of the word road and have the word ride. Ollie and Josh made this a few years ago. I don't know why they got a picture of somebody riding a train and a sentence about riding a tricycle to college. Never mind, let's move on. Right, here's another homophone, a triple homophone. Sew, sew and sew. Sewing with a needle and thread. Sewing when you're deciding what shall I do next. So what shall I do now? And then sewing when you've got some seeds. So, shall I sow or sow? What else have we got? Thrown. 2 types of thrown. Thrown with an OW and thrown with a magic split digraph E. A ball was thrown at the throne. Oh dear, Jemima, I think you might get in trouble for doing that. Right, moving on. Now, here's a mnemonic. Now, a mnemonic is a memory trick to help you remember something. So the word ocean is quite tricky. Only cat's eyes are narrow. Only cat's eyes are narrow. There's a mnemonics game you could play at home where player 1 reads out a mnemonic and player 2 says what the word is. Now, here's a word tree for the word hope. The root word is hope. And growing out of that, we've got hoping and hoped and hopeless and hopeful and hopefully, unhopeful, hopefulness. Notice with the word hoping, the letter E has done its magic trick and disappeared. Hocus pocus, alakazam, I'm magical E, I disappear. Let's move on. Here's another word tree. Oh, there's one for no. I've already shown you. A couple more on there that I didn't think of before. Now, dot dash dive. With dot dash dive, with a dot, 1 letter makes 1 sound, as in hop, hop. With a dash, 2 or more letters are making 1 sound, as in thrown, 2 letters making 1 sound. And in though, we've got 4 letters making 1 sound. With a dive, we have a split digraph, also known as magic E. So we are splitting the digraph, splitting the vowels with the letter N. Moving on. Here's another trick called pyramid words. And with pyramid words, you start with the whole word at the bottom, and then you write the word above it, each time removing one letter, which helps you to think about one letter at a time. Okay, so there's some strategies. On your zapper you've got some instructions and you can tick the boxes. We've now investigated the spelling pattern. You've hopefully chosen your challenge. Hopefully you've practiced handwriting and you've chosen some strategies to help you learn the words. And now it's time to move on to the next 4. Share it with your family. Play the games that I've suggested and practice these words. Next week, when we finish this zapper, it'll be time to work with a partner and find out how many words you can write from memory. Have you increased your powers? And ultimately, you need to use them when you write.